So good day, my name is Alvin Gallarda from BTLED 2 HE, and today's we will discuss the Japanese period of Philippines literature. So what is the Philippine literature in a Japanese period? So what we'll discuss? So we will discuss the historical background between 1941 to 1945 and the Filipino poetry during Japanese period. So at the completion of this topic, you should be able to trace the historical events and development of Philippine literature during the Japanese period. And we will discuss the types of poetry and the haiku and the tanka or the tanaga during the Japanese period, and we will analyze and appreciate the poem as a literary genre by writing on historical background between 1941 to 1945. Philippine literature was interrupted in its development when the Philippines was again conquered by another foreign country, which is the Japan. Philippine literature in English came to a halt except for the Tribune and the Philippine Review. Almost all newspapers in English were stopped by the Japanese. This had an advantageous effect on Filipino literature, which experienced renewed attention because writers in English turned to the writing in Filipino. So one Laya who used to write in English turned to Filipino because of the strict prohibition of the Japanese regarding any writing in English. So Japanese period has been called one of the darkest days in the history and literary tradition of the Philippines. The wartime experience and events of the troubled times left indelible imprints to the lives of the Filipino nation. However, there are still few and remaining bright spots in these generally dark and gloomy days. It is our duty as students of Philippine literature not to be selected and biased in our treatment of the various literary pieces regardless of what period it was produced. Moreover, the richness of our literary tradition incorporates all possible literatures, and like a solitary candle flickering in the dead night, a certain piece might just be waiting for us to discover and appreciate its exquisite beauty peculiar to the period in which it was written. Hence, come along and join with me to discover such gems of our Philippine literature during the Japanese period. Filipino poetry during Japanese period. Filipino poetry during this period, the common theme of most poem during the Japanese occupation was nationalism, country, love, and life in the various faith, religion, and the arts. So, what is the three types of poem during Japanese period? So, the three types is the haiku, tanaga, and karaniwang anyo. So haiku, it was made up of 17 syllables divided into 3 lines. The first line had 5 syllables, the second line is 7 syllables, and the third line is 5 syllables also. The haiku is allegorical in meaning, in short, and covers a wide scope in meaning. Samantala, while the tanaga, like the haiku, is short but it had a measure and rhyme. Each line had 17 syllables and it's also allegorical in meaning. So, it's like a haiku talaga. So, and haiku is a poem verse that the Japanese like. So, it was made of 17 syllables divided into 3 lines. The first line had 5 syllables, the second is 7 syllables, and the third is 5 syllables. Wait lang. So, haiku normally features allegorical meaning. It is usually short but it covers a wide scope. The favorite topic of haiku writers included nature, love, patriotism, and nationalism also, and about the friendship and the human emotion. And tanka is a poem is very similar to haiku, but tanka or the tanaga poems have more syllables and it uses simile and metaphor and personification. So the tanaga poems are written about the nature also, seasons, and about love or about sadness and other strong emotions. So this form of poetry dates back almost 1,200 years ago. Here are the example of haiku. by Gonzalo K. Flores in 1941 to 1945. The first example is the tutubi. So, hila mo'y tabak, ang bulaklak ng hinig paglapit mo. So, we will count the syllables in haiku. So, in the first line, hila mo'y tabak. Hila mo'y tabak, which is the 5 syllables. Ang bulaklak ng hinig, ang bulaklak ng hinig, which is 7 syllables. And the last line is sa paglapit mo. So, sa paglapit mo, which is the 5 syllables also. And the second example is the anyaya. And uli lang damo, sa tahimik na ilog, halika sinta. So, we will count also the the syllables in each line. Uli lang damo, which is the 5 syllables, and sa tahimik na ilog, 7 syllables, and halika sinta, which 5 syllables also. Hence, this is the example of tanaga. So, palay. Palay siyang matino nang humangi yumuko, ngunit muling tumayo, nagkabunga ng ginto. So, it has a line and it has a simile and metaphor personification. And that's all. Thank you for listening and God bless. Peace.